Yeah, I was about to say, if you want to have if you want to have a 7-hour podcast, I'll do it.
First of all, Peter will come through those doors. Lady, what are you doing?
Hey, Maria.
Hey, Lisa.
Guess what day it is?
Friday.
It's the Diversity Duo Day. Let's do this.
So, Lisa, today we have an amazing guest. She has been a friend of mine since 2007. And when I worked for the state, and I'm going to let her tell the story because it sounds better when it comes from her. I'm going to introduce you to my friend Doreen Blades, owner of U.S. Eco Products.
Well, hello, Doreen.
Hi, Lisa.
I-
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Well, thank you. I've been so excited for this particular Friday for what seems like months. It seems like we've been talking about having you on for a while now. I'm going to come at you with a whole bunch of questions because I love your business, but I'd love if you could tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what your company is, what US Eco does, and all of that.
Sounds great. So I'm Doreen Blades, as Lisa had mentioned and Maria has, president founder of U.S. Eco Products. We were incorporated July 15th of 2009. And as Maria said, I've known her since 2007 as I was preparing to become certified as a woman-owned business. What we do, or how the business actually started, was I had a Plan B company called Fun Loving Pets, and I had specialty ice melt that was safe for pets. What I found out from my website was pharmaceutical companies were purchasing off of my website the ice melt. The U.S. Army was purchasing. We shipped to Pakistan. We found a way to do it that was very inexpensive. So I said, and of course, at that point, the economy crashed. And I said, I can do this. I know about women being certified as a woman-owned business, small business, need some help. And I just started off selling straight ice melt. So I sold it to Logan Airport, Troop F.
Wait a minute. That's the start of your company, was just ice melt.
Mm-hmm.
100% ice melt. The ice melt I was selling did not confuse the bomb-sniffing dogs. So I sold it to Troop F at Logan Airport because they were concerned about that. I sold it to a grocery store chain, and it was snowy. We had more snow back then than we do now. And that grocery store would call me at 7 o'clock in the morning because a blizzard or a snowstorm was coming in, and we would have it delivered by 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
And they loved that. They loved that. Their customers loved our ice melt. And then we continued on. I had a company out of Philadelphia who provide bioremedial products. So products that will literally eat any kind of petroleum product. When they wanted my ice melt. And when I asked them what they do, they told me, I said, yeah, sure, it's snake oil. I don't believe you. So they sent me some samples. I have 2 sons, and at the time they were just learning to drive so their cars were they weren't brand new cars, we'll put it that way. And in the garage, of course, I had oil stains in the garage, tried out their products, and it's still, the area that I had cleaned the garage it's still working. So I brought on the whole line of bioremedial products they literally eat any kind of petroleum-based spill. They also work with the sewer systems. So we expanded. I spent a lot of time with Mass Water Resources Authority so that it can be used in their system to keep the pumping stations clean. So I brought on the town that I live in, and also the city of Cambridge. I was really excited about that. They needed it in Kendall Square, where there's a lot of students and restaurants, and it was a big problem. So they tried it out, and now it's used throughout Cambridge to keep the pumping stations clear. And then I just grew from there.
So you're really a product-based organization. You started with your one product and you slowly began adding products.
I added products, and then I also started adding, learning from Maria. She showed me how to, with companies that are on statewide contracts, they need a diverse partner, and how to be a diverse partner in a variety of ways. There's 3 different ways and how to do that. Well, I was able to secure a contract with ExxonMobil because they had a contract with the state police. And that was so exciting. It was like, oh, wow. And they took me to the Red Sox game because nobody else would go to that game. And she called me and she said, Doreen, can you go to this game? Within seconds, I said, of course I can. Right? It wasn't necessarily because I wanted to go to the game, but my husband loves baseball.
Yeah.
And so I went there and I was able to say, hey, I've got ExxonMobil as my customer. Right? And then they called me. I became certified in a variety of organizations and with the SBA. And at the time, it was so exciting that ExxonMobil called me because I had met with them through national organizations. And they called me and they said, Doreen, are you going to this event, a woman-owned business event in Houston on Friday? This was a Monday or a Tuesday. And I said, yes, of course. Hung up the phone, called my husband and said, I need tickets right away. That's the best part of owning a business.
Yep. Is being able to make those decisions and execute them right.
It is. Yeah. And meeting such wonderful people. Like now I know you, Lisa, through Maria. And my business has grown. Besides products, I also do services. So I provide porta potties across the U.S. for every military installation or division. I'm now moving into exterior I'm new at this one, enveloping products. They're products. We're back into the products. So and I try to stay with sustainable. So the external enveloping allows the building to be more sustainable and less likely the products do not allow go into flames. Oh. So even the insulation, it won't do it. It doesn't release toxic fumes. It just shuts down. You could hold a match to that all day long, and it won't. So goodness. We're expanding, and that's the fun part. I'm learning all these different things.
Look at that.
Yeah, my business is geared towards green and sustainability.
So, Doreen, I know that you mentioned, and I have always found your business fascinating, especially because you have your finger in so many different products, and they're all sustainable. How has certifications, the actually socioeconomic certifications or the supplier certifications, help you grow that business to the next level where you are sitting now?
Well, I use certifications, and I have many. I have the state of Massachusetts for the woman-owned business. I also have, under the Department of Transportation, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and I can't remember what the acronym's, ACDBE.
Yeah.
So that's for airports, highway, anything that if $1 of federal money is spent, they have to have a goal on that. And I have those certifications in 45 plus states, plus Puerto Rico, and Hawaii and Alaska. And I'm hoping to get projects there so I can go visit.
That's right.
Yes. I know your certification specialist wants to go too.
And I would more than happy to take her along. But I'm also certified with the SBA as an 8A, which allows for sole source. I don't have to compete. Or if I have to compete, it's a smaller group that I'm competing against. I'm also woman-owned small business, economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, hub zone, and just small business.
Mm-hmm.
So what that has allowed me to do is to partner with other companies that are not familiar with the more in the federal marketplace, although I'm expanding more into state and city marketplace. But at the federal marketplace, to partner with other companies that either they can't apply because it's a set aside as a small business, or they're not familiar with the federal marketplace. I won one contract as a sole source and it was a national park in Massachusetts, reached out to the local lumberyard who is on a statewide contract but had never worked in the federal marketplace. I said, can you do this? And they said, sure, we'd love to do that because they're doing small business with that national park.
Yep.
But then I had to go in and convince the credit manager to give me credit and explain the federal marketplace and how they pay, that I don't have to wait 60 days. I can either get it in 15 days or 30 days at the longest.
Yeah.
And I started the relationship with them. So this is how I network all the time, always networking, always wearing green, so that people...
That's our brand.
It is. And people can see me.
Yep.
Because I've tried it out wearing black with a green shirt. They can't find me. I tend to be short. I'm a little short. Unless I wore a green hat that's stuck up or something. They can't. So it works that way. And
Wonderful.
I'm so excited to hear about everybody else.
Right.
What is everybody else doing? What's your story?
Right.
And that allows me to remember them and also for them to remember me. And when I hear of opportunities, it's not always, well, what can I get out of that? It's I'm reaching out to people and say, oh, I met this person. Let me introduce you to them. And I don't, they're going to remember me. I'm not always looking for the next dollar. Of course, a business, you're always looking for dollars. Right. But if I can give somebody else an opportunity, that's good for everybody.
That's right.
Yeah,
no, I like that. You're either looking for money or you're looking for a relationship. That's why we're in business. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
If everybody succeeds, we all lift each other up.
That's right.
That's exactly.
I'm not climbing over somebody else to get up.
You don't need to either. And I think that's the confusing part to some startups is you don't have to pull other people down in order to do well on your own.
It is. And there's plenty of business out there for everybody.
That's right. That's right. So I'm going to jump into your education because I want to understand how the world of sustainability happened for you. How do you think about it? How do you stay ahead of the curve?
Well, my background is I went to UMass Amherst at a time when things were changing rapidly. And some of my friends, college roommates, and they're mechanical engineers, went on to be an environmental lawyer. And the environment was very important at that point. So it was sort of, and I've always wanted to do something. I've always wanted to, I'm the first one out there to stand in line or be in Boston Common if looking at different things. And it's, even when I was 9 months pregnant with my second son, I was the chairperson for the Waste Management and Recycling Committee for my town. And I'd be, because I'm short, everything was out this way. And we had dumpsters. I won't forget, we had dumpsters behind the police station in the town for recycling. So there was the cardboard, the glass, and the plastic.
Yeah.
And people were so worried about me trying to put the stuff in the dumpsters. Everybody knew me in town. And it was, but I was able to bring for the first time curbside recycling to Groveland.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
It was first time. And it's something that I'm proud of.
Yep.
And will continue. You know, I'm not in town politics anymore. It's too much work. But on top of it, but I've always been in sustainability.
Okay.
Always, always. And then I took advantage, it's changed its name. The SBA had, at the time, it was Emerging Leadership class. I took that, learned from a variety of people. I was able to go to Harvard when I was working before the job. They paid for me to go to Harvard for a graduate class in sales
wow.
management. I'm always thirsting for knowledge. WeBank, Women Business Enterprise National Council, I participated in, they have different executive programs. I went to their energy executive program in Louisiana, and it was at Shell Oil's training facility for those that are going out onto the platforms.
Wow.
It was amazing. But it allowed, I was thinking, you know, I've got this stuff that will eat oil. They're always having oil
Right.
spills, the BP.
Yep.
But I found out that's not really where I fit, because those BP, Shell, they don't do that work. It's their subcontractors that do all that work.
That makes sense.
So that allowed me, but I made such good friends because you're in this dormitory. You're freezing. In Louisiana, they had the air conditioner. I won't forget that. It was so cold. But then I took advantage of that, and they also had what it's called the Tech program at the IBM campus in New York. So it's they call it a mini MBA.
Yes.
I just finished the capstone Tech program
Great.
at Dartmouth College in the fall. So it was the second half.
Congratulations. That's exciting.
It's thrilling. It's really you learn more from everybody else and not necessarily from the presenters. And one of the presenters remembered me because she had worked for the Office of Supply Diversity. And I had met her. I was in one of her classes early on, and she remembered me because this office had used my ice melt as an example of a success story. And she was one of the ones.
Wow.
And now she's teaching AI. I mean, things just come around. You just never know.
You never know. This is why it's very important to always continue with the education, whether it's college courses or, in this case, certificate courses, and networking. Those two have to go hand in hand.
They do.
And it will help your business grow.
It does, dramatically.
Yeah, that's why we have a producer who we're trying to get into, remind him that the time it takes to fill out an application for an acceleration program is worth it. Right?
Very
it's
much so.
very important.
I can see he's smiling back there, even though the lights are blinding me. I can see it.
But again, it is about that continuing. It's about knowing what you don't know, meeting who you don't know,
Absolutely.
and building those relationships out.
It
You
is.
just never know.
You just never know. And in college, I thought I was going to be pre-med. Well, chemistry ended me for that, and calculus.
Same here. Same here.
But then I had to figure out, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I changed my major almost every semester or
Really?
every year.
Really?
And I ended up with psychology, but I matched it with business courses.
Wow.
At the time they allowed me to do that because I knew I didn't want to be a counselor. But I was pretty good with the math side of it.
That's
with
great.
Statistics.
Wow.
And I learned a lot. You just never know. Always open to learning. Always.
Well, your knowledge around certifications is amazing.
Thank
The way you talk about it. I mean, second only to my friend here, because I don't know anybody else who so seamlessly talks about their certifications and why they're certified and how they work on individual, whether it's state or federal contracts. I don't know why I started there. Sorry. I'd love to know your private work. How much private business does your organization work in?
We don't do a lot.
You don't, purposely.
I don't actively pursue it.
Okay.
What I do, and I have a website, the usecoproducts.com.
We'll make sure
And-
that's at the bottom here. Yeah.
Yes. But the statewide contracts is where I'm able to use that.
Okay.
My certifications, HCDBE, the DBE certifications in so many different states, they're goals. So I, of course, have that all over my website.
Yeah.
I have a company that purchase either, I think, monthly, thousands of dollars of tasting spoons. And it's shipped all over the U.S. But it's one purchaser, but they ship it all over the U.S. I'm not sure. It's probably because of my certifications.
Okay.
I've had a very large company purchase from me, especially at the end of the year when they have to report their spend.
Right. Right.
Is what they and it sometimes it's the WBE certification through the states. Sometimes it's my DBE
Mm-hmm.
or ACDBE, depending on the state.
Okay.
But the certifications allow me to find opportunities. Also, it opens the door for me to talk to different people. It allows the networking. I wouldn't be invited to the networking if I didn't have the certifications, right?
Mm,
That's right.
right. That's right.
It's like I just went to, in New Orleans, the National 8A Small Business Association conference. First time going, but I've already, on the floor, I didn't exhibit, I just walked around and talked to everybody. But on the exhibit floor, they immediately texted somebody in they're in Alaska, Native American firm out of Alaska, and they immediately texted a project manager in Alaska and said, she has this.
Wow.
We shipped out, while we were still in New Orleans, we shipped out the product to Alaska to help them with their, and that just opens the door.
That's right.
I wouldn't have known about that conference if I wasn't certified as an 8A.
That's an amazing point.
You know, this morning, Lisa and I had a guest, and we worked together and for the state, and now she's a Thermo Fisher, and we were discussing certifications, and I said, you know, certifications opens doors, and Lisa said, I like to say it unlocks the doors, and
Yes.
it's so true. In this case, the certification for you had not only unlocked the door, but it has opened many doors.
Many
Right.
doors.
Right.
Many doors.
So you do believe that certifications are really important. I mean, it just
Very.
says to anybody that wants to buy from you, whether it's government, private entities, municipalities, that you have been vetted, and you have passed all the tests. So
Yes.
you are somebody that we can buy with and trust what you're selling.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I love to talk about supplier diversity in 3 pillars, right? There's the discovery, there's retention, and there's development. And when I think about when Maria first talked to me about who you are and how excited I was going to be to meet you, we talked a lot about that discovery place, right? All of your certifications are for the point of procurement professionals to be able to discover you and your organization. The retention piece is what you do. That's your business. That's showing up, suiting up, doing the right thing, and getting your work done, and delivering on time, and delivering, blah, 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 blah. Cost, value, all of those things
Right.
in check. This is the piece I don't really know you, so I'm going to give you a lot of kudos here. I don't know a story of an organization that has developed themselves as much as you have for your organization. You're welcome. Because I think, to me, that's the masterclass here, is you started with ice melt, which just makes me laugh. I'm sorry. But you started with ice melt, and then you said, oh, somebody needs something else? Let me go and get it. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, because this has been years in the
Yes,
making. So
yes.
this didn't happen overnight. This wasn't, you got certified and boom, all of a
Nope.
sudden.
No.
No,
This
it was
is-
a long process.
Long process. You put the time and the energy and the learning in place. But you have developed this outrageously successful company.
Thank you.
Because you've developed yourself for every time. Picking up the phone and calling a fencing person because an opportunity. It's like, I see an opportunity. How can I fit that opportunity?
Exactly.
I can do it by building out relationships and networking and joint. We talked a lot about joint ventures in the last podcast.
Right.
I mean, that's...
And I'm exploring joint ventures at this point, but it's a mentor protege programs at this point.
nice.
I haven't moved forward on that, but I also, what I think is just as important in saying, give me a minute and I can do it.
Right.
It's also very important to say, you know what, I'm not the right person for this
Right.
job.
That's right.
Right.
Because you don't want to take something on that you can't do.
That's
And
right.
That's
fail.
important.
And
That's
it's
very important.
and it gives trust to the people, and also they share your information.
Mm.
We just picked up, I would have said no, but the people that work for me said, oh good, of course we can do that. And I let them do it. It was the Army down in Connecticut, had 6 huge containers filled with evidence that was moldy, it was mostly moldy and wet.
Yep.
And if you ever see the NCIS and
Yes.
all that evidence that is in there, and they needed somebody to remove it and incinerate it.
Interesting.
They had already received a quote from a large company, and they said, that doesn't work. So they reached out to us and said, can you do this? I would have said no, but my people that I work with said yes, and they put it together.
There you go.
There it is.
It was, and we did it. We were very successful.
That's wonderful.
Very, very successful.
And you ended up adding a new service
Service.
to your menu of services.
So
We did.
Can we talk about your team? I mean,
Sure.
can we talk about your team? But can we talk about your team? So you started this business on your own,
Yes.
just selling ice melt.
Yeah, on the phone, just nonstop, on the phone, email, just. But my previous experience, I was a director of sales at a high level, working with attorneys. So my team, I've brought on multiple people, like a bookkeeper, a webmaster, web marketing, somebody to do all my certifications, so that, and also to handle with those certifications and doing business across multiple states, you have to register with each state,
Right.
and you have to get a sales tax number, and you have to report. For me, I work with the federal government, so there's no, I can't charge a sales tax,
Mhm.
but I still have to report that there's no sales tax
Mm-hmm.
owed, and that has to be done on a regular basis consistently. So I have a certification person who also handles my sales tax reporting. I have an executive assistant who, like today, she's watching my emails all day long. She's trained to, again, I said I have porta potty, and of course there's something's going to go wrong someday where they get blown over, or some kind of, a tractor ran over it because it's on an industrial site. And that needs to be coordinated with the subcontractor and my contract person. So she does that. She answers the phone. She knows how to respond. I can say, send her what I need done. My capability statement now needs to be adjusted multiple times depending on and where it's going.
Right.
Right.
She has the ability to do that. She has the ability to reach out and figure out. She knows what her limitations are.
Mm.
And she also knows where she can grow. And so she's there. Try to think about it. No, I have some. I also have janitorial stuff. I do janitorial services for the FAA in multiple states. So I also have janitorial, and I have a person to do the invoicing. When you work with the government, they have multiple portals to invoice, and they have to be done specifically, whether it's for 4 weeks or a month, and I've learned through the hard way, when you look at contracts, you look at when they're going to pay you. And if it says a job for a whole year, no matter how much they try to write in that you can get paid monthly, they don't. I learned the hard way. It took a year to get paid for the work I did.
Wow.
So what's your advice to other small businesses, startup small businesses now who are able to land themselves some contracts where there's some delays in payment? We talked a couple of weeks back in regards to gaining credit, having your company get credit lines. We talked about short loans. What's your recommendations in regards to covering?
When I started out, now remember, I had spent 20 plus years as a salesperson, a director of sales, teaching sales. So I was able to convince my vendors to give me credit.
Nice.
So I was able to convince them, give me 30 days or 45 days, because it takes that time. So that's one starting point, was give me, and I didn't order until I had an order, a purchase order. So I didn't build up a lot of inventory to start out, and went from there. And then I became very good friends with my bank. I networked. I mean, and I'm still with that bank. I was at a networking event, and I was talking to somebody about the bank that I work with, how responsive they are, what they've been able to do with help me, what to do. And this person comes up next to me and introduces himself. He's the president of the bank. But then I talked to him about, he was into Ireland. He's also on the board of directors for the Boston Irish Business Association. Okay. So it was interesting. But also to reach out, there's the small business development centers. They have a lot to offer. I worked with a consultant out of Salem, Mass for a long time. Then I worked with one out of Lowell, Mass, who there's microloans. There's a lot of different places that you can go, but you also have to be very familiar with how you have to run your books. You have to make sure they're done correctly.
Yep.
And you need to know off the top of your head the receivables. You need to know your profit and loss. You need to know that information off the top of your head.
That's right.
When you're talking to somebody. Because how are you going to price things if you don't know what your overhead percentage is? If you don't know what the cost of your products or services are, you can't possibly price it. And don't price yourself too low.
Right. That's a big one.
Yeah, as women, the statistics are that we charge 38% less than a man. So when you come up with a price for your service,
add 38%.
And just add 38%.
Okay.
I like that.
I'd like to take back all those proposals I sent out this week.
Yeah, and you have to and when you give a price, whether it's for a service or a product, do it with a straight face.
Yes.
Right.
Do it with it. I'm worth it.
Yeah.
I am absolutely worth this.
Absolutely.
And
Don't flip-flop.
Nope.
Don't flip-flop.
No, you do have to know your worth, and you have to be able to say it. I remember the first time I had whatever my bonus number was, right? That special number. And it was the first time I submitted a proposal at that number. And every time I practiced, I'd go, like, it was like, oh my God, right? Like, do I get to say this number out loud?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, though.
You have to be. I did learn that really young because my father was a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And people in the neighborhood would come to him. And there was one person that he really did not want to work with them. It was difficult. So here I am at 10 or 11 years old, and my dad, he had a real hard time with pricing things. And I said, no, this is what you're going to charge them because you don't want to work with them.
Right.
And so there's a
Right.
penalty price
That's right.
to do that. And I went up to him, I'll never forget, 10 or 11 years old. I went up to that person. I said, this is the price.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it. You've got the jerk tax.
Ah, yeah,
And
you
we've
have to
done
know the
that.
price.
But because and you have to think about your customers.
Right.
As your own, when you run your own business, you get the choice of who you want to work with.
Yes.
And you can fire customers, or you can choose not to work with certain customers because it costs you too much.
That's right.
Right, right.
That's right.
Doreen, as a small business, can you talk a little bit about what obstacles you have faced and how you have overcome them?
There's a lot of obstacles. A lot of obstacles.
I'm sure.
They don't take you serious.
Mm.
When you say you're a woman-owned business, they think of the hobby businesses.
Yeah.
Yes.
They think of Avon. They think of Tupperware. And you have to explain that, no, I make money.
Right.
I can support myself, and I support myself nicely. And I network with people that have billion-dollar companies and some that are 200,000. But that's one of the obstacles. Some of the other obstacles, because of the environment I'm in, selling ice melt or selling stuff for oil cleanup as a female, that's difficult. So stand loud.
Yep.
Put those shoulders back, put those elbows out, and step up so that you don't allow them to forget that you're there.
Right.
You have to make sure that you're loud enough without being rude,
Yep.
that you're heard. And I've run into that multiple times. I've also seen it happen with other women. And my goal, and I've done, when another woman brings up an idea, good, bad, or ugly, it doesn't matter. But if they're not recognized to speak, and everybody else tries to speak over them,
Right.
I stand up and say, excuse me, this person has an idea that sounds actually pretty good. Would you please repeat your idea?
Right.
And
Right.
don't allow somebody else to take your idea as their own.
That's right.
And you run into that. I run into that not as much as I used to. When I started out doing the ice melt, I won't forget it. It was Massachusetts. And they were looking for snow plowing. So I attended the pre-bid meeting. I was the only female. And everybody else walking in, they thought I was the administrative assistant.
Oh
Can
my
do you
God.
have? I was like, no, I'm on the bidder. And then the contracting officer, actually, I was sitting. He actually moved his chair as far away from me as he possibly could. I'll never forget it. It's like, but you know what? I don't let that. I will be successful in spite of it.
Yeah, that's
There
right.
you go.
That's right.
You know, I want to share with you in the audience. I'm going to say 4 years ago, I went to an agency which is going to remain unnamed. And I was seeking assistance for another company that I own. And they asked me, I mean, I knew my profit and loss. I knew everything about the company. So I told them how much was the profits for the year. So they look at me and they said, oh, that's a hobby. That's not a business. So very seriously, I said, that is what a state employee makes starting their career.
Yes.
I would advise you from woman to woman not to use that kind of language again, because I found it insulting. Next time you might not be as lucky. And I said, thank you. I don't need your services.
Yeah.
I got up and walk away.
Exactly. You have to be willing.
You have to.
You have
You
to
have
be
to,
willing.
if you want to be heard and seen,
Mm.
you have to take a stand. And
Yes.
like you said, do it in a manner that, oh, she's an angry woman. No, do it in a manner that is going to sit there and they will not do it again.
Yes. Yes, most definitely.
So I'd love to, on this in the same vein, I'd love to know if you have a story.
Well, I had a lot of successes, and it was mostly through COVID.
Mm.
During COVID, when everybody else was falling apart,
Mm.
and because of all the networking I had done before, I like people. I like talking to people and learning their stories. I was able to, during COVID, the beginning of it, when you couldn't get anything, I was able to get hand sanitizer. And I worked with another woman who, out of Michigan, she manufactured it out of Chicago,
Wow.
and they shipped it to me. And of course, it was at a high price because everything cost so much more at that
Right.
point. She shipped it to me. I then turned around because of who I know. I turned around and called, it was the commuter rail actually. And I called them and I said, look, I have these gallons of hand sanitizer. He said, I'll take them. I'll take them right away. And it was like, because I was the only one that
That's
had
right.
That was a commodity hard to find. It was.
them. It was, I still have hand sanitizer because, of course, the alcohol companies got in the business of
Yeah.
hand sanitizer, so the cost went way down.
Yeah.
I also, during that same time, and you never knew what you were going to get when you asked for shipment. And I received cases of the wipes,
Mm-hmm.
to the sanitizing wipes.
Mhm.
And I called a local company, and I said, I have X number of cases of wipes. Do you want them? Because if you don't, you're first on my list. But if you don't want them, I have a line of other customers. They said, yes, we'll take every single case that you have, but we've never ever paid that amount before. And it's not because it was my cost. Everything was increasing.
Mm.
Another one we did, it didn't end up with a sale, but it's a good story. I work with the Navy base in Kittery, Maine, Portsmouth. It's the Portsmouth, New Hampshire Navy base. When everybody was trying to find face masks, the Navy's required to have face masks that are manufactured in the U.S. by 3M. Worked my network, I was able to secure 60,000 face masks
Wow.
manufactured in the U.S. by 3M
During COVID.
during COVID, the
Oh
height
my
of COVID,
God.
where everybody else was. I called them. I said, "Look, this is what we got," and the pricing was reasonable.
Yeah.
There was no increase. They decided, no, we're not going to do that path. We're going to hand sew them in Kittery, Maine. But I was able to. I mean, that was their decision.
Yep.
You're right.
That
right.
was their
Sure.
decision. But I was able to show them, look, this is what I can do.
That's right.
Right? Everybody else was, and I canceled an order. It was during the time where everybody's saying, you got to give me $4,000 or $5,000 up front, and we'll have it landed.
Right.
I tried that, canceled the order, and they never were able to secure those because they were taken on the border.
Yeah.
For FEMA and everything else. But I was able to do that for the
Wow.
Navy, but they chose not to go with that direction. But it's all about all that networking and trust that I built up prior to COVID.
And you have a remarkable way around procurement. And I'd love to know how and why you have this. You came from sales, and I often say sales and procurement they're back to back. They're the
Right.
same, opposite ends of the opposite sides of the coin, whatever the expression is. How'd you get so good at it?
It's a win-win. It's an absolute win-win for everybody. I'm helping out. I'm not helping out. We're both succeeding.
Right.
That's always my way of thinking of the world. Who else, if I purchase from them, they can produce it to me and they know me, then we both win. We both win. There's nobody else, they're able to succeed. I'm able to succeed. And it was a very tough time. But my business was able to explode because of it. Because you get a reputation of able to get what you need. I had an opportunity, Children's Hospital in Boston. They wanted plastic gloves. They called me. And the reason that they knew to call me was because I networked. I went to every one of those events. At the time, it's Federal Reserve held them, or the state held the networking events. He remembered me. And he called me, and I said, okay, give me a minute. And I quoted, it was 1 penny too high. I mean, at the time it was, but I could guarantee that they would arrive.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get that. Mass General, the same thing. They knew who I was because I had networked before. Quoted them a bunch of stuff, but then our local football team donated to plane loads. And so the opportunity went away.
Yep.
So and I consider those wins. They remembered me to give me an opportunity. It's up to me to provide and succeed at that opportunity.
That's right.
But at least they gave me the opportunity.
Right. Doreen, with the state of affairs nowadays across federal and state, where do you think do you think that supply diversity as a program will suffer, whether at federal or state level?
I think those companies that were all in for supplier diversity will remain. Those that were just got into it over the past 4 years or more, they're the ones that are saying no. What will continue is there's always a need, especially at the federal level, for small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Those, and that's where I think that's going. I am diversifying who my customers are, and going more towards the state and city level, and expanding into more of the airports. I service a lot of airports, but I don't think it's going to be a tough few years with supply diversity.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of saying DEI, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Spell it out.
Spell it out.
Spell it out.
And it's economic inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Just spell it out so that if anybody's questioning it, spell it out. So you're not willing to support diversity, equity, inclusion. And I think that helps. And people are going to do business with businesses that they trust.
Yep.
Right.
That's right.
And who they know.
Yep.
That is
So if
very
you've
true.
already built up a reputation that you can get the job done, you'll do whatever it takes, they're still going to do business with you.
Right.
They will still, the federal government still has goals. They reduced them to 5% across the board.
I saw that.
Yeah. So they still have that. And other companies, retailers, that have taken that away or put it aside, I don't shop there.
That's right. That's right. I'd also say be mindful of the language, right? Not just what does DEI stand for, but those organizations that we hear, they've stopped their DEI programs. That's true. But have they stopped purchasing from small and diverse organizations?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah. Because there's a couple that are really getting a bad rap.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean everybody, but there are some that are getting a bad rap. I'm a believer because I have been in procurement for 30 years. So all of the lenses I look through are about procurement. And for me, supplier diversity equals risk mitigation.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost. Then second is it's economic development for underprivileged and underrepresented locations.
Yes.
And the answer, if you're an anti-DEI, I just question, where do you close your loop on that? That's all I ask, right? Where does one close the loop? Are they saying we're only doing business with big businesses? Because as soon as an organization, the classification is where it gets really funky, right? For is it the classification that bothers you, or is it the size of the organization that bothers you?
Right.
And if the answer to that is I'm only going to buy from, and I don't mean to knock Amazon and Walmart, because I think they're going to be okay even if I do, but if in a world that looks like everybody's buying from Amazon and Walmart, see really troubling worlds to the United States and our individual economies that go throughout the country. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents around.
I think I love diversity because I don't think the same way you do. I don't
That's
think
right.
the same way you
That's
do.
Right.
And I may not know what's an issue for you. I mean, Volvo was the first one to come out and say they wanted a car only designed by women for women. They were the most successful.
That's right.
Not everything fit, but they were the most successful. And that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
And-
That's right.
And the automobile industry had to come up with, look at the vans. Well, it's been a
Yeah,
while, but the
yeah.
vans, you stick your foot under it and the door opens because you've got
Packages
groceries.
and kids. And
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're doing, and they don't think about that unless you have women on their staff.
There
That's
you go.
The engineering staff, you don't think
That's
about
right.
that.
That's
Or
right.
think about all the food. I
Right.
love food.
When,
So-
Yeah, it's that anti-group think.
yes.
Yeah.
when I used to run, right, I ran a couple of marathons, and I was running every day, 5, 6, 7 miles. Weekends were 15 to 20 miles. And my favorite running shoes were one made by a company owned by women, and the sneakers were for women, Rika. They were the most
Oh, they're the best.
comfortable
Interesting.
sneakers ever. I never developed any shin splints. I mean, I know this is free sponsorship, but they knew us because they built it for them
Yeah.
with us in
Yes.
mind.
That's right.
And that means a lot for the consumer, right? Talking about supply diversity, I have gotten a couple of calls from, small businesses wondering, hey, how is, are we still going to have a program? Are we still going to be able to sell to the state? And my answer to them is all the states have needs for goods and services
Yes.
that they must buy to to supply those needs. So I would not worry too much about it.
Right.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit harder.
Right.
And you definitely, in some cases, when I went to the conference, there's people that I knew very, very well for many, many years. So they were very comfortable in talking to me. They said, strip out everything except for small business. Although they know that I have those others, but in order to get past certain
Yeah.
places. However, that doesn't stop me from selling to them
That's right.
because might take you a little bit longer. It might have to change you never lead with your certification.
Right.
You
Never.
always lead with your services or products and why you're different,
Yep.
Yep.
but don't bash your competitors.
That's right.
Absolutely not.
That's right. We've
Absolutely
had
not.
in the past, month, 6 weeks, we've had more large organizations cancel recordings
Yep.
because they say we can't come on, it won't pass our marketing team. Our marketing team won't let us on the diversity duo. And I say, I'm a 30-year practitioner of procurement.
Yes.
We're going to talk procurement.
That's it.
Nope.
Yep.
It's the name.
It's the name.
It's the name.
We're not changing our name.
And we're not changing our name.
No.
As you
No.
should not.
No, because we are diverse, and that's
We-
you know,
Yes, diversity means so many things.
So many things.
I mean, here we are in this room. We are 4 human beings, very diverse from one. Yes, there are 3 women, but look at us. And then there's a young man behind the cameras. And I mean, how can you're not use diverse and vilify it?
that's right.
Why?
Well, I just want to know, because we're coming to time, which is
Right.
crazy. This was such a fast hour. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you were hoping we would discuss?
Right, cover.
We went through a lot.
It
We
was
absolutely
easy
do.
conversation here. It was very easy conversation.
If you're up for, I could do another hour.
Yes,
if you're up for
yes, absolutely.
No, there was a lot. And I think that people that are starting businesses or just getting started, been in for maybe 5 years, they have to, I found it's a roller coaster.
Mm.
Yeah, it is.
You have good days, you have bad days, and it's a roller coaster, but you still have to get up every morning and do it because it
Absolutely.
will get better. It will absolutely get better, but it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
My days are no longer, they are, some of them are 12-hour days, but
Yeah.
they're no longer for the first thing I get up in the morning to the last thing I do at night. It's a roller coaster, and
It
it's
sure is.
and it's fun. And if you're not finding it fun, don't do it.
Right.
You
Right.
know, don't
Yes.
do it.
You know, this is me as a business owner talking. One of the most incredible aspects of running your own business is that if you don't want to work a day, you say, well, the boss gave me the day out and just go and do whatever you want to do. Because believe you me, when you come back, the same amount of paperwork you left on that desk will be there waiting for you.
It's amazing. Nobody picks it up.
No,
Nobody
Nobody-
finishes it.
Just absolutely. That wasn't me or no me. They don't come in and pick it up.
Yeah.
But you know, it's one of the many pluses to having your own business. Obviously, there's plus and minus. There are times, and I talk to Lisa as much as I talk to you, Doreen. And there are times I call Lisa and I said, okay, not a long conversation. I don't want to do this today. And she goes, neither do I. But you do, because you have clients that are expecting
Yeah.
Yes.
certain things from you. And you seriously don't want to let anybody down.
Right.
I mean, my clients, right? But I absolutely love and I'm very passionate about what I do.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I had I've been in business for 2 years, and it just
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I just realized that I don't have to do everything anybody wants me to do.
There you go.
There
And
you go.
I remember I called Maria on this, and I said, I have a potential client. I don't want them. I
Exactly.
don't want them. And you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever you wanted me to do.
Yep.
You need sweeping? I'm your girl. Right? Like things that had nothing to
Yes.
do with the core
Exactly.
efforts of my business.
Right,
They weren't
right.
great for me. They weren't great for them. Where, you know, now it's, you find your niche. I do look forward to it not being what I go to sleep thinking about this business. I wake up thinking about this business.
Same here.
I look forward to that not being the case, but
Same here.
I can't
And
imagine.
You get to choose.
Right.
Yes.
You really do. And then you also have to think about the 80-20 rule.
Right.
So that if you're spending 80% of your time on a customer that gives you a little bit of business, they're not worth your
They're
time.
not worth
Nope.
it. That's right. That's right.
Not at
Yeah.
all.
All right. This was amazing. Thank
This
you
was
for
fun.
introducing me.
Doreen, this has been, I am so happy that you agreed to come into our podcast. You were so willing. The minute I didn't even finish saying, Doreen, will you podcast? Yes, sign me up. And I love that about this woman. I mean, like I said, we've been friends since 2007, and I have learned so much from her. I'm sure she has learned a lot from me, especially when I call her to talk about, you know, something that has aggravated me, and she just listens to me. I
But
appreciate
I
our
actively
friendship.
listen to you.
Yes, yes.
I do.
Yes.
And do you have any last words of wisdom for our audience?
I think you've covered pretty much everything. And always say yes.
Always
yes.
say yes.
And learn from everybody.
There
I
you go.
still want to be able to learn Spanish. I'm so jealous of you.
Well, Doreen, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your experiences and expertise. I'm sure that our audience will truly appreciate, um, who you are, the type of business you run. Um, Again,
Thank you.
thank you. And as always, I'd like to leave you with my favorite quote. Let's continue to amplify diverse voices and foster meaningful dialogues. And with that, this is Maria. Thank you for listening.
And I'm Lisa. We're the Diversity Duo, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.